Hey everyone, so in today's video we're going to have a look at product analysis for the exam content. So it's not something a new concept. I imagine if you've done this at GCSE and you're doing it at A level, you understand the whole concept of how to like product analysis. And obviously you need to do it in your coursework as well. But there is quite a big part of your exam content will be on how to actually analyze certain questions. So it's kind of trying to understand how to answer those kinds of questions. So typically what it'll do is it'll show you a photo of a product or a group of products that need to be analyzed. What it might do is show you two similar products with one key difference. So maybe like a children's bike, one made out of plywood, one made out of aluminium, or a bucket, one made out of stainless steel, one made out of polymer. So, and then you've got to analyze and sort of compare and come up with a decision at the end. So it might ask you to analyze based on a range of topics. So it could be to do with the suitability of the materials that are being used, the design process being used, the manufacturing process being used. It might ask you about the design influence, so the design style or movements. It might also might ask you about the influence of the development of technology, or ethical issues or environmental issues. So there's a very, very broad range of things it may ask you, but it will always specify for you. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples and we'll break this down. So obviously it's showing you two similar products. It's showing you two power drills. It'll give you all of the information it wants you to do. It's not going to try and trick you or anything. So it's telling you what they're made from. So one obviously made of die-cast aluminium, telling you the power supply, telling you how to change the drill bit, and any key it like where the center of mass is. Same with the injection, the plastic one. It's telling you it's injection molded out of ABS. It's telling you its power source. It's telling you how it all works. But the key thing then to look at is compare the two drills. So it's taking ergonomic factors and design safety. So just to show how to break that question down. First of all, you've got the word compare there. Okay. So that means that you need to talk about both products together and compare them. What you can't do is just say a list about one and then a list about another. Okay. If you look at the marking criteria here, so it provides detailed analysis comparison of both drills, referring to technical details. What it doesn't say here is you have to make a decision about which one is better. So you don't necessarily have to do like an evaluation and say I think figure two is better because, but you want to compare the pros and cons. It wants a reasonable, detailed, balanced argument for both. It does say because it's brought up the fact it's got ergonomics and design safety. Those are the two things it wants you to talk about. It's also worth pointing out that if it's giving you any information on the table, which it does quite often, it wants you to refer to each part of that table. It doesn't want you to ignore any of that information. It gives you that for a reason. So 12 marks. This is honestly, you're probably going to end up with a 6, 8, or a 12 marker for product analysis for the most part. You might get the odd 14 marker, but a 12 is pretty average for that. So I'll use 12 marks. Leave 2 for a summary at the end. I know I said you don't necessarily need a summary, but for the longer mark questions, it's not bad practice to. You could do it without it if you wanted to, but in this instance, I said leave us some mark, 2 marks for a summary. That leaves you 10 marks left to get in total. So that would be 5 points to bring up and discuss between two. So you bring up say safety, and then you discuss it for the metal one and the plastic drill, and that'll get you 2 marks. And then you do the same for power supply, and you do the same for operating the truck. So if you basically discuss all 5 points, in fact that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is all 5 that are in the table, and then discuss them. Remember, the whole point it should be a seamless discussion. What it doesn't want is bullet points about the metal one, bullet points about the plastic one. So that's one example of a product analysis question. Um, I won't go through this, but if you want to pause the video and have a these are the basically the actual answers for what you could go through. I mainly want to go through the kind of questions you're going to give up. Please do have a look if you want to. Pause the video, have a read through the question, the answer. Okay, so similar kind of layout. So we've got two similar similar products. We've got colanders. Okay, so one is made out of metal, one is made out of plastic. So one is a traditional metal colander, one shows a modern polymer colander. Sorry. They're used for washing vegetables, etc. Compare and contrast these two colanders, make reference to the use of materials and how they've affected method of manufacture and the function of the product. 28 marks. Okay, so first of all, I do want to point out, I know you do not get a 28 mark question anymore. You used to in the old spec have 28 mark questions and you'd have to answer 3 of them. You don't have that anymore, but the theory for how you break it down and how you answer it is still the same. So they're still good questions, and it's still good to have them as a technique for how to actually physically break it down. So the question has been very specific about what it wants you to write. It said you're talking about materials. That means you're going to have to explain about their properties and what makes them suitable. It said it needs to talk about the manufacturing method. So again, that's linking back to the materials. It's asking you to talk about the function of the product as well. So you need to make sure you reference each one of these points. Because they are long mark questions, remember it does mean you're going to be like marked on your spag. So make sure any technical language is used correctly. So if we're going to break this down, so 28 marks. So the simple thing really is you got to talk about method of manufacture and the function of the product. So that's 2 things. So break it down. So 28 marks divided by 2 is 14. Okay, so you got to do 40 marks for each one. But for argument's sake then, so you can break that down and you could do 7 points for each one and an explanation, because you get a mark for bringing up a point, then you get a mark for explaining why your point is correct. So that's why really you only need 7 points. Now you could do 8 for one and 6 for another, or some other variation, but for argument's sake, say you're going to do it equally and you do you split it right down the middle. So 2 things, divide 28 by 2 obviously gives you 40. So there's 40 marks for the method of manufacture and there's 40 marks available for the function of the product. And because what happens is you get a mark for bringing up your fact, then you get a mark for explaining why your fact is correct. So really, that means you just need 7 points. So you just need to talk about 7 points for your method of manufacture and then 7 marks for the function of the product as well. So again, I'm going to leave example of the answers on there for you. I won't talk through these. Pause the video if you want to read through, and then I'll go on to the next question. So the next one is, and I saw some people have probably seen this question before as well, is exactly the same kind of thing. Is you got similar but dissimilar products. You got two children's bikes, one made out of plywood, one made out of aluminium. So analyze and evaluate the 2 balanced bikes in terms of their suitability for mass production and suitability of materials. So analyze and evaluate. So obviously that means there must be a summary at the end. There's got to be a key discussion and a decision at the end. It's also telling you to talk about materials and how it can be mass produced, or if it's suitable for it to be mass produced. So breaking down that, it's told you what the materials are, so plywood and tubular aluminium. It'll never not tell you what the material is. It might ask you to suggest a material, like an alternative material, but it'll always give you the original material. So 12 marks. So you know you have to have an evaluation or a conclusion at the end. So take 2 off for that. So you've got 10 marks left to get. So that's 5 points comparison between the plywood bike and the aluminium. So really, you're only needing 5 points to talk flip-flop between the two. And again, remember, it has to be a seamless discussion that we're after. And once again, marking criteria is there. Please do pause it, read through. Okay, and the last one we're going to do is the Gone chair. Again, works exactly the same way, but as we'll go through exam technique, you'll understand the first 2 things you should always do. 1, read the question through first. 2, look at how many marks it's worth. Once you've done that, that's why I always make sure I underline all keywords in the question, because it lets me know what you've got to write, obviously. So from there, compare. So it means you're gonna have to have a discussion between the two. And then it says evaluate their suitability for long-term use. So it says evaluate there, so you're gonna have to have a summary or an evaluation at the end. And it also says these are for outdoor use, outdoor environment. So you're gonna have to talk about the pros and cons of each one of those chairs for going outside, and then decide, make a decision of which one you think is better. So bear in mind, this is only worth 6 marks. So this is still a long mark question, because remember 5 marks and above is a long mark question. But so 6 marks. So it's not anywhere near as long as the other questions where we have to do a 12 or the 28 mark question. So this is only a 6 mark question. So 2 of those need to be for conclusion. So that means really then it's just 4 points. So you just need to discuss them on 4 points for pros or cons, but you wait for those. And again, just remember, it still needs to be a comparison. There still needs to be a seamless discussion, not a set of lists. So that is product analysis. Hopefully, that's giving you a little bit of an understanding of the style of question. They do like it as a style of question. It comes up quite a lot, and it will be the longer marked questions that you need to do. Um, and it's just understanding first things you should do. One, read the question. Two, read how many marks are, and then underline and get those keywords so you know exactly what it's asking you to do. If you got any questions, please send me a message and I'll get back to you.